Okay, we're talking about the new Eve, a new kind of woman that completes a man completely. But before I read, let me show you what happens when a woman is damaged. We've been talking about men, authentic manhood. Look at Ecclesiastes chapter 7. I want to show us a scripture. There are a number of such scriptures. Verse 26. May God grant you the grace, for those of you who are not married, that you don't fall into the hand of this kind of lady. Solomon said death is better than being in a relationship with this kind of lady. I find more bitter than death. More bitter than death. If you don't know what the death of bitterness, if you see somebody that's facing assassination, he watches his death with his own eyes and is not able to help himself. Or you see somebody pining away in hospital and is not able to save himself. There are different situations. Solomon said, instead of dying by accident, there is a type of woman in your house, and when compared to dying by accident, it's better to prefer that kind of death than to a woman whose heart is a snare and nets. Her hands are bands. I like the way Solomon ended. He said, whosoever pleases God will escape from her. The problem we have now is that they are getting more and more in number in this 21st century. Virtuous women are very scarce now. It's a bad news, but it should also be a good news. It should be a good news because the church is that institution that God placed on earth to create virtue. When he said we are the salt of the earth, he's talking about our values and our virtues. Our light is the knowledge that we carry. We are the light of the world. But when he said we are the salt, salt deals with virtue. That quality of character that preserves. So what it means is that as things decay in society, when men want to find a good wife, they should know there is only one institution where to go and find her. It's in the church. But the wahala we have now is that many of our religious institutions have also lost their responsibilities. If we're talking about the collapse of value in our society, part of the blame lays at the doorstep of the church. Okay. Proverbs chapter 12. On the virtuous woman. Verse 10, just that verse. Who can find a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. Her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts in her. She will have no lack of gain. Okay, he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and no evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She's like a merchant ship. She brings her food from afar. This lady seems to be doing business and all of that. Verse 20. She extends her hands to the poor. She reaches out her hand to the needy. She's not afraid of the snow for her household. All her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tar spray for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband, verse 23, look at that one, is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes lining garments and sells them. I'm trying to avoid the business side of her life and just find some of her. Verse 25, strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Look at that one. On her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. A virtuous woman is not an idle woman. Look at the different businesses she's controlling here. She buys properties, she does a number of things, yet all these things she's involved in does not tamper with her responsibility to her husband and her family. It's a mind-boggling thing. I want to show you the making of a woman like that. That's what we call the fascinating womanhood. I want to show you. I don't really have the time. What I would have loved is to put in the hands of every lady here the keys to becoming this lady. Maybe if I find that time tomorrow, I might complete this. But I want to show you, and the effect this kind of woman has on a man. Look at verse 28. Her children will rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, he praises her. Many daughters have done well, but you have excelled them all. Charm is deceitful. Beauty is passing. But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands. Let her own works praise her in the gates. Who is writing? A man that has had intimate relationship with approximately 1,000 women. He ended up marrying 300 of them. Solomon. When you have married 300 women and slept with 700 others, apart from the ones you are married, you have something to, you have gone to the school of womanhood. If it's an university, you need PhD. That's what, when Solomon writes about women, listen, because they dealt with him. They dealt with him. It was one of the things that almost destroyed him. Open up the slide. Let's go. Now, what we want to look at is how an ideal woman awakens a man's deepest love and tenderness. We know this, to be loved and cherished is a woman's heartfelt, of course, greatest desire in marriage. What we want to do here is to give you the principles that if you apply, you can actually have this so-called, some people call it fairy tale, Romeo and Juliet, all those guys. They don't know that he exists. I don't mean the childlike, youthful approach to love. No. There's what is called mature love.